So representing a startup co-founder at Cash Karo, Swati Bhargav, Suman Verma, Head of Operations, YNR North, Anita Nair from Havas, she's the CEO, India and South Asia. And of course, giving us the male perspective, also because he's been in leadership and hiring roles and now is the founder of his own agency, February, Nirmal Pulikal. Thank you all very much for joining us on the show. Gender discrimination, is it a reality, especially in technology, where you don't see very many women and you're a co-founder of a tech company?
I think that there are definitely less women in tech, but when you look at startups, because a lot of startups engage young people, I think that mindset shift is already happening. So there is no very apparent discrimination per se. A lot of women choose not to be in tech. Sometimes a lot of women feel that, as they grow in their careers and as they come to a point where, they have to make a choice between having a family and having a leadership role, sometimes they choose to be involved in the business but not to take a leadership role. I personally don't think it's as bad in terms of discrimination in tech. I think the women who want to make it have made it.
The guys have tech skills and women don't. There is a perception, right?
That stereotype is there,
Yeah.
right? And I think that stereotype is there because over time there have been more men in tech. I think it also comes back to our social fabric, to our families, the way women have also grown up. Sometimes they're doing education because it will help them get a better match, or you get into a job because you want work experience, not necessarily because you have a leadership or career in mind. Because it's quite traditional that women will go into arts or finance, but not really into tech.
Okay, let's talk about advertising and marketing.
I'd like to begin by saying that I work for a company where there are 3 women who are leading the 3 different offices. So I can say that my CEO is at least bright and smart enough to have hired women, and we don't come cheap. So, so I've seen women who have been successful, but yeah, there are fewer women. I think that's got something to do with this whole thing of the moment they've had children, they've taken sabbatical, and that whole relaunching of their career after 5 years have been difficult, so they become freelancers.
There's been a quotation from Kevin Roberts, in fact, from Saatchi & Saatchi, who recently resigned, that women are not vertically ambitious. Give us an instance of your personal journey. Did you ever face that discrimination?
Yes, it was. I mean, I'd not make any bones about the fact, because for us, we might be just lucky to be in an organization like Suman has been, where, it's been stable and women are there at the top. But there are loads and loads of women today in media and advertising who are, growing and are facing that. And yes, the growth slows down because, once you're married and you've got kids, and even at that point in time when you're working with kids around,
right,
you kind of, don't take on as much as you should be taking on. But the other question is that yes, discrimination happens. I've seen a lot of them through the various agencies that I've been, faced a couple of them as well, where I've been told, listen, I think you should be staying back at home because you're pregnant. So these things have happened and I've faced them myself. It's a question of, when we're talking about vertical ambition, it's a question of what ambition means to you.
I know of women who are extremely ambitious, and they don't like the fact that they are perceived as women. Because if you're a professional, you're a professional. Anyway, Nirmal, let's get a male perspective. We've seen almost an imbalance where creativity is concerned. We don't see very many women creatives in India. Why is that?
In my entire career, I haven't seen an ECD tear up a good idea saying that, oh, this came from a woman, so let's not present it. Because I think our industry is it's designed to be a meritocracy. But yes, the deck is stacked against women. Only 1 out of every 10 CEOs in India is a woman. In my agency, I think most of them, I think 70% of them are women, and I'm talking about in senior positions. But I can speak from personal experience because my wife used to be one of the top creative people in Ogilvy, and she left her career in advertising after we had a child. I think she even tried to get back. The hours and the pressures of advertising, you need to be a little flexible about that. A lot of industries do assist women to get back into their careers, but not ours. I think ours, career planning is a big problem because we just tend to see people as machines mostly. And I would include us startups as well, because we're living from hand to mouth most of the time. I think our industry as a whole is not, especially when it comes to maternal care and child care, we're not doing enough to help these women who have children to get back into their careers. Because I think they're unfairly compared to a man who would put in, a late shift. A lot of our work also involves going out into the field and making meetings, going for shoots and things like that, which someone with a child might find it very difficult to do.
Very quick reaction.
I've had a very different experience on this, because there are certain categories where I think you can't do without a woman. I mean, how do you expect a man to tell you what it feels to use a tampon? I mean, I'd be damned if I had to hear it from him. I've worked on brands like Horlicks where this woman, even if her child had broken her leg or whatever, you just make one phone call and tell her, look, this is a brief that I have to work on, and it didn't take her more than 20 minutes to even just rattle it off. It comes from a very personal experience of a mother's insight. And I've had products like skincare product, when you hear it from a man when he's telling you, but it's all about attraction. No, for God's sake, it's not only about attraction. So you really need women to be on categories that give you an insight which is so felt from within.
The way a woman looks at an inside and the way a man addresses the inside leads to the kind of advertising that you see. And if you see sexist ads out there, it's only because you're underrepresented at the top.
If you give me a strategy that is just bordering on that level of attraction, sexuality and stuff like that, I don't even buy into it, because that's not what I believe this product would do to me.
Yeah.
So the inside-out journey is a lot different from an outside-in journey, which a man does. But what do you do when you don't have women around? You are missing out on that nuance. And it's not as if that men don't realize that they're not getting it, but it's just that then it's the battle of, am I doing the right thing because this is the best that I can come up with? So I think that's where the whole thing is. But if women became a little more conscious of the fact that, they have to manage this dual role, I mean, why would you want to compromise on not being a mom versus just being a professional? If there was this whole flexi hours or the flexibility to work out of home, but on the other side, when women are working out of home, you really don't know what they're doing, because they're not available to you 24/7 either.
Sometimes when we talk about women stepping back from work, we can't ignore the guilt factor. If you have a kid and if you are doing what a man does, i.e. you go to work, see the kid in the morning, see in the evening, you are branded as a bad mother. Father is not a bad father. It's his job to go to work.
Yeah.
We have women who are going through this every day. I know they struggle, they make breakfast before coming, they have to take care of their kid. How we are tackling it is actually telling them to just feel relaxed. You are productive. I want you in the organization. Maybe we can work around your hours a little bit. But even women today are ambitious. They don't want you to treat them differently to men. They're actually trying to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to do it all.
I don't have a kid, but I have an 84-year-old father who's worse than a
That's
kid.
a kid.
I don't wait for a maidservant to come. I make sure that by the time I left the house, his lunch is ready, breakfast is served. So it's all about multitasking. It's all about managing. And when I have women, pregnant women or women who've just come out of maternity, I give them that flexi hours to really come a little late and go a little early, but just manage the fort.
Do you think you're more sensitive because you yourself are a woman?
I mean, I'm a mom of 2 daughters, and like I said, my first daughter was born, and 3 months after she was born, she was into the creche and was back to work. And when my second daughter was born is when my boss said that, you know what, I think you should be sitting at home because you've got a daughter. So which I took up with a vengeance, and I said, listen, I mean, I will now work hard and have been working hard, and I'll now work hard and tell you how it is.
That's a choice for you to make,
Absolutely.
not your boss.
It's not for my boss to tell me what to do. If I'm not delivering, you tell me I'm not delivering, right?
Nirmal, come on, defend yourself.
All I can say is that I know that I'm not an absolute pig, but I'm about 50% of a pig. I probably don't do enough to #share the load. I play football with him and I wrestle and do all the fun bits, but my wife does all the heavy lifting. And I appreciate that, and I probably should do more.
Is it a mindset thing?
Yes, but it's just division of labor for us. If she's sitting at home, it's not so much, and I get yelled at a lot for this from my wife. I'm like, yeah, why don't you just go and pay that bill because you're sitting at home? And she's like, no, this is a full-time job, just like yours. I've slowly come to terms with recognizing that fact.